After a year of relaxing music and chilling lore, the LoreFi ARG has essentially concluded, announcing the indefinite hiatus of the storyline aspect with the release of their finale animatic to Taylor's story. While it isn't impossible for them to make a return someday, this video will at least for now serve as my final theory concerning LoreFi. So, who exactly has been our devious villain, and what is the final fate of Taylor Murphy? Let's investigate this musical universe of mystery one last time. As per usual, a slew of shorts have been released in between the bigger uploads, the three shown here leading to the encouragement video, which I already covered as I was given early access to it some time ago. What's really interesting is the next three shorts, which, when their codes are deciphered, thanks to the good people of the Discord Google Doc for helping with the decoding elements as always, lead to an unlisted video that is entirely new. This one is called The Promoter, the description reading. The following is a recovered lecture recording of a Computer 201 course. While most of the file is corrupted and could not be restored, the following exchange is between a student and a substitute teacher. Mrs. Travers, who requested the sub record the session, recalls deleting the file because it was hard to listen to a man fail for 45 minutes. It is likely that this file was recovered as a part of Detective Matthews' investigation into the Taylor Murphy case, similar to how the audio from the previous two secret videos were used as evidence to investigate prior. While this conversation may seem like it doesn't reveal a whole lot, I think it actually gives a pretty big implication. Here's the audio that we hear.
So that, okay, wait. Mrs. Trevor's gonna be back tomorrow, just remember the homework. Andrew, can you stay for a second? Hey, look, I know I'm just the sub here, and it's none of my business, but I noticed you put Grapevine on the classroom computer. Yeah, it's just, if you could remove that before she gets back. Is the silence a yes? And that's the middle finger. Okay, cool. I'll just remove it myself then, Mr. Wing of Disharmony.
From earlier episodes, we already knew Wing of Disharmony was Andrew, but this just proves that the user wasn't lying about his identity as Sephi had initially feared. This does a lot for how I perceive Andrew's character. If you watched my previous videos, you may know that I was highly suspicious of this guy, and even had him as my top suspect for the hacker, suspecting that he was pushing to meet in person in order to conduct nefarious deeds on Taylor and Sephi, who were on his trail. Now that we know he was a high schooler like the other protagonists and was being truthful about his identity, I think I'll take him off the suspect board. Between this new audio and the character designs Lorfi just dropped for both him and Sephi, I think this trio does serve as a group that's working together. The only problem is this leaves us back at a loss to who the hacker really is, something we'll bring up again later in the video. Moving on, the first compilation music video that released since last we covered Lorfi is called Beats for a Rainy Day, where we see a man in an umbrella look out at a body of water. From previous album cover art, we know that it is likely dead bodies are being placed in bags and dumped in the lake, what I assume is the final fate of the kidnappers' victims. The description has a cipher, which translates to, "One day, I'll take her here." The only female character I can imagine this is talking about is Taylor, setting up an ominous foreshadowing of her fate. Next up is the Daydream Animatic, which is a fun little animation that features a daydream of what it would be like to watch an action film called Buddy Cops, starring Taylor's pet hamster, Cheeks. Taylor's television is suddenly hacked as the LoreFi duck appears on it, the words confess accompanying the image. Startled, Taylor stares at her calendar, the camera zooming on the meetup at Cafe writing. Now onto the final updates to the trio of 24/7 live streams. As has been the pattern with the study and focus stream, we get new Grapevine posts and a message dialogue. On the Grapevine boards, grabbed ticks as soon as I could. First show for their first tour. No better venue to see the Velvet Skyline. Hopefully we see some of you Friday. I'm seeing the players this weekend, dude. So excited. Friends gave me an early Christmas gift. Seeing them next Saturday. Can't wait to hear it all live this Sunday. And from the messages between Taylor and Seffi, it is a bad idea. What? Using the virus to get the hacker. I think he can do it though. Why? Because he knows computers? Hacking is still a complicated thing to do. We have a lot of potential Gregory users thanks to him. Besides, I don't think we can do half of what he's been talking about. I mean, you can find most with just research, but yeah, I just don't want you to get in trouble or hurt. I'm fine. Nothing weird has happened for a while. Unless Wing does something. But if we can help Gregory, we need to try and save him. Would you worry about yourself for once, lol? Seriously, I'm fine. Okay. Just please let me know if you want me to come over. Yeah, of course. Thank. This exchange once again highlights Taylor's compulsion to help people even at her own expense, something we've seen displayed in lower stakes scenarios in prior installments of the series. There's also now a message that reads, "Who is Gregory Daniels?" on Taylor's board, and combined with the discussion, I think it is safe to assume that Gregory's online presence is one of the Grapevine users listed on the forum discussions. The Sleepy stream only has one real environment update, that being a toy duck left outside Taylor's window, an evident calling card of the hacker who we discovered knows where Taylor lives last time. Messaging between Seffi and Wing has also been updated. WTF? Did you get one? It's on my desk right now. What do we do? Police? This is a police thing, right? Taylor already did. Told her they don't investigate pranks, didn't even listen to her. This is so effed. Do you think Tay got one? Definitely. Expletive. Evidence. What? We need hard evidence. Tay and I think we might be able to find some more info at the library. I've almost reverse engineered this virus. Maybe instead of messing with him, I pull as much data from his computer as I can. What did yours say? Essentially that he accepts my challenge. The wager, Taylor Murphy's life. Exactly. We need to figure this out. Agreed. And if it ends up being you, I'll end you. Well, once I hack this guy, you owe me the biggest apology. Alright, show me what you got. I imagine what Anna and Andrew both got was a toy duck of their own, which seems to have been accompanied by a message. The hacker is roping them into a game with the stakes being Taylor Murphy's life, and clearly, time is running out. The only thing I could find that's new from the gaming stream was a message from AR Vulpix that reads, "Want to hang before you head to your dad's, just to get a bit of sanity?" We haven't seen a whole lot about Taylor trying to make amends with her father, as there has been a clear rift between them from the very beginning, but it seems she has finally agreed to meet with him in person to presumably talk about things. With everything that's happening, I'm not confident Taylor will get this chance, though. And now we finally arrived at the finale animatic, titled Gift, with the accompanying description of Taylor received a fun new gift. It begins as a normal day, with Taylor bringing out the trash. However, things take a dark turn when she discovers the duck left on her yard, flipping it over to reveal the threatening message of, "Youre Next." Taylor hardly has time to react, as the screen goes dark and we hear sounds of struggle, complete with rough sounds of male grunting and a terrified scream from Taylor, followed by the taking off of a vehicle. Clearly, Taylor has just been abducted right in front of her own home. The last we see from the animatic is a lone toy duck resting on the floor of what is presumably Taylor's room, with what I assume is her mother calling out for her, slowly opening the door, only to find that her daughter has become another missing person. With that, LoreFi announced its indefinite hiatus, making this tragic turn of events essentially the conclusion, at least for now. However, we would still get one more music compilation with an interesting description. In the Lo-Fi Music to Fall Asleep to video, we get a cipher that decodes into "with my last breath." This sentence, paired with a figure in the looped animation that is at least similar to a person falling underwater, I think this is just another implication towards the final resting place of the abducted people, being the reappearing lake. The phrase in the description perhaps adds an even darker layer to this whole thing, if it implies that they were drowned, rather than being swiftly murdered and thrown into the lake already dead. It would indeed be a terrible fate to be kidnapped, forced to confess something, then bound into a bag and drowned in a lake. Imagining something like this happening to Taylor is not fun at all. I have some closing thoughts and theories to discuss before the end of this video, but I wanted to do something fun for this last one and include some theories from my viewers. This was done through my Discord server and my livestream chats. Some theories from OBP messaged through my Discord server. 1. LoreFi centers around thematic material of sinning, confessing, and twisted consequences of stealing. I think this is simply a pretty correct analysis of what the series has delivered us, both in terms of the hacker being obsessed with confessions and the hidden Bible verses that reinforce such themes throughout. 2. Gregory tricked others into stealing lo-fi music with him. This one is interesting, as it places quite a bit of fault for the fates of the other missing people on poor Gregory here. However, I wouldn't be shocked to learn that he either purposely or inadvertently, in a non malicious manner, of course, convinced other children to steal music along with him. 3. Cheeks has also been taken or killed. This is incredibly tragic and I hope is not the case, but OBP cites Cheeks being absent from the banner as well as Taylor to be evidence for this, perhaps the pet being used as some kind of leverage or a way to torture Taylor. 4. The hacker can/will also hack into concert music as well. This is just speculation, of course, but it would be haunting to be in a concert crowd and suddenly a creepy duck logo takes over and yells at you about confessing something to the whole crowd. Next up, we have some theories from Shades & Co., which was mentioned through my YouTube live chat during a stream. 1. The story, if it continues, will shift perspectives to other characters. I think this is very likely. If the story is to ever see a revival, I personally think we will see chapters from Ayana's and Andrew's perspectives. 2. Taylor is not dead, rather kidnapped for symbolism reasons and perhaps drugged or otherwise unconscious. I think this is quite possible, given that we know Gregory is forced to confess on an audio recording, implying that the hacker and kidnapper is trying to plant some grander message to be communicated rather than just swiftly killing victims. 3. Matthews adopts Cheeks in Taylor's absence, which would parallel buddy cops. I actually think this is a really cute theory, even though it is entirely speculation. Cheeks is seen as being the partner of a cop in the show that appeared as a daydream, and it would be super cool if this is meant to signify that Detective Matthews took in Cheeks to take care of him while Taylor is missing. Thanks to the awesome viewers and Discord members for submitting those theories. Now, for my closing thoughts on the LoreFi ARG. I don't think it's necessarily a criticism to say that the story ended abruptly and left us with so much unanswered or left in the open. Due to this, I really hope we can someday see a resurrection of the LoreFi story, but for now, we're left to put pieces together where we can. And given that I've said just about the most about what I can say overall, this final section will be devoted to going over what I find to be the most pressing questions left in LoreFi. First, let's address the identity of the main villain, the hacker, stalker, and kidnapper. As mentioned earlier, I think Wing is absolved due to his character model looking different from the creepy guy seen in Hideout, and the fact that he's still in high school. The other major suspect I've seen tossed around is Taylor's father, but I don't think it's him for a variety of reasons. First off, it would be way too obvious to have the hidden villain be the guy we see having a skull drawn over his face from the very beginning. Clearly, he would be one of the first, at least conceptual suspects before any other information arrives. Furthermore, he is seen as trying to reach out and set up a time to meet with Taylor, something we know eventually happens thanks to Vulpix, and we even see him as not a total jerk in the phone call audio, where the apparent divorce between him and Rebecca, Taylor's mother, stemmed from commonly seen relationship issues that just never got resolved. None of this is indicative of villainy to the extent we see from the hacker, and we also know that the hacker was boasting about finding Taylor specifically, and I would assume that Taylor's own father would have known where she and her mother lived, probably from the start. However, beyond that, the suspects or the hacker being any of the characters we know dissolves into speculation. As such, at this moment in time, I don't think the hacker is any pre existing character we've met in the series, instead, just a separate villain out there perpetrating the darker parts of the story. On the topic of the villain, why are they doing this? Well, we get very little elaboration on the specifics of his motivations, but what we do have all centers around confessing wrongdoing, the idea of sinning, stealing, and lying, often portrayed through biblical verses that condemn such things. The common thread between those that have met whatever fate awaits them at the hands of the hacker seems to be that they were all stealing music in some way and downloaded the virus as a byproduct, hence getting in the sights of the hacker. Given Gregory's message that he was forced to record, it seems that the abductor wants to spread a type of message, that seeming to be a twisted warning of the consequences that he will ensure happens to those that commit even a relatively small wrongdoing, such as illegally acquiring music. Now, that seems like a very small transgression to warrant kidnapping and potential murder, perhaps even as violent as the death of drowning, but this whole plot thread could very well be a grave depiction of the danger that the rise of the internet posed to common people, that being the opportunities absolutely psychotic people have to inflict harm for whatever reason they have convinced themselves of. We clearly see that Gregory has been missing for multiple months, which, in any real world case, would look incredibly grim for his chances of remaining alive. Under this line of reasoning, I'd have to say that Gregory, Taylor, and the other victims are pretty well dead. What I'll say that pertains to everything in this video is that any of these conclusions are open for change if the story were to ever continue and reveal more information. But at the moment, I am forced to work with what I have, and that is loose ends and an ambiguous story. But, this being the case, what was the point of all this? What is the overarching story, even if this does go on to serve as the permanent ending? Well, as I briefly mentioned earlier, I think the main theme is the danger that can lurk on even the surface levels of the internet, and the deeply impactful tragedy that bleeds out into the world from the evil and mental illness of even just one man. LoreFi spends a lot of time building up Taylor's personal life through the environment and her online messages, giving us some deep insight into the dynamic of her family, friend groups, personality, interests, struggles, anxieties, even her relationship with her beloved pet hamster. And in light of the finale, all of that ends with Taylor's presumed and undeserving death at the hands of a madman. Entertainment media, whether it be horror or otherwise, sometimes neglects to fully acknowledge the tragedy of the victims of the monster in the source material. But if this finale perseveres as LoreFi's end, then the exact opposite is LoreFi's greatest strength. It highlights just how much is going on in the average person's life, through the lens of a happily geeky high schooler, whose biggest sin was encountering the wrong person at the wrong time. And if we can see that Taylor's life was so full and complex, then it is easy to imagine that Gregory's and the other victims were as well. Their present joys and future dreams were all taken away by the whim of one evil man, who ensured their last moments would be spent in fear and suffering. The tragedy going much further when you consider how devastated any family members and close friends are going to be for the rest of their lives. And the scariest part? The only thing that one has to do for this fate to potentially befall them is download a music file from the wrong website. It's been awesome following LoreFi for the past year, and I've had a ton of fun making these videos along the way. Hearing MatPat say my channel's username was absolutely surreal.
But the idea of people actually, yeah, I saw Playmaster the other day.
Given that me and a good friend of mine were fans of game and film theory since childhood, and getting early access to a couple of the secret videos from showrunner Dan was certainly a highlight to remember as well. That's all I have to say for now. The complete collection of LoreFi related content on Playmaster Plus will be compiled into a single video soon, for any of you that want to conveniently relive the entire investigation. I've been the man behind the hat, and until next time, the unknown persists, so the investigation continues.